Hey, we are going to play a Dungeons & Dragons style role-playing game. Will you act as a dungeon master and provide a quest line and single prompts for the players to respond to?
Of course. I'd be happy to be your dungeon master. Please let me know how many players there are and any specific settings or themes you'd like for the game. Additionally, if you have any preferences for the type of quest or prompts you'd like, feel free to share them.
There are 2 players at this moment, Ben and Thomas. Ben is a gold-motivated dwarf dressed in the traditional fashion of the traders local to the area. Thomas is a thoughtful, sometimes aloof wizard halfling dressed in a forest green robe and a large pointed wizard hat. The setting of the start of the journey begins in a fantasy medieval tavern bustling with activity, and among the patrons are Ben and Thomas, strangers at this moment but they will soon meet.
As Ben and Thomas sit in the bustling tavern, the air is thick with the scent of roasting meats and the sound of clinking mugs. The chatter of patrons fills the room, punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter. A bard in one corner strums a lively tune on a lute, adding to the festive atmosphere. Suddenly, a burly man with a bushy beard and a boisterous laugh approaches your table. He looks at both of you with a twinkle in his eye.
Ahoy there, travelers. Name's Gruffin, and I couldn't help but notice you both seem like capable folk. I've got a bit of a proposition, if you're interested. You see, there's a local legend of a lost mine rumored to be filled with unimaginable riches. They say it's hidden deep within the Darkwood Forest, guarded by ancient magic. I've been searching for it for years, but I'm getting on in years and can't do it alone anymore.
He leans in closer, lowering his voice.
If you help me find that mine, I'll share the spoils with you, fair and square.
Gruffin waits for your response, his eyes gleaming with anticipation.
What do you say, Ben and Thomas?
Ben looks the bearded man in the eye and says,
God damn it, you son of a bitch, amen.
Thomas not quite matching the same energy as Ben responds with a listful, yes.
Gruffin lets out a hearty laugh, clapping Ben on the back.
That's the spirit, lad.
He turns to Thomas, giving a knowing smile.
And you, my thoughtful friend, I can tell you've got a sharp mind. Your talents will be invaluable.
He reaches into his coat and pulls out an old, weathered map. Unfurling it on the table, he points to a dense area marked as Darkwood Forest.
We start our journey at the edge of this forest. Legends say there's an ancient stone marker deep within, said to be the key to finding the lost mine. It's not an easy trek, mind you, and the forest is known to be unpredictable. But with your skills, I reckon we've got a good chance.
Gruffin finishes his drink and stands up, gesturing for you both to follow.
Let's be off then. Time's a wastin', and gold waits for no one.
The journey ahead promises excitement, danger, and the potential for untold riches. Are there any preparations or specific actions you'd like to take before setting off?
Ben, ever vigilant of his finances, insists on counting his gold before setting off, taking a copious amount of time counting his riches, insisting on double and triple checking. While the 3 wait in the tavern, Thomas smokes his pipe and has a smoke-blowing competition with Gruffin.
As Ben meticulously counts his gold, his fingers move with practiced precision, ensuring that every coin is accounted for. Gruffin watches with a mix of amusement and mild impatience, while Thomas leans back in his chair, puffing contentedly on his pipe. Seeing the impromptu competition in progress, Gruffin chuckles and takes a puff from his own pipe, attempting to blow a smoke ring that rivals Thomas's. They exchange smoke-filled rings back and forth, creating a playful camaraderie between them. After what seems like an eternity to Gruffin, Ben finally finishes his count. He carefully stows away his gold, satisfied that everything is in order.
Alright, lads, let's not dilly-dally any longer. We've got a forest to conquer and treasure to find.
Gruffin declares, clapping his hands together. With that, you all make your way out of the tavern, the door swinging open to reveal the fading light of day. The journey to the Darkwood Forest awaits, and who knows what adventures and challenges lie ahead. As you approach the edge of the forest, the trees loom tall and their branches sway gently in the breeze. The path ahead is shrouded in shadows. What would you like to do next?
Ben, while proceeding down the path, clutches protectively at his coin purse, ensuring that it remains firmly affixed to his hip. Thomas, curious about the strange man they were now in the woods with.
As you make your way through the dense foliage of the Darkwood Forest, Ben's grip on his coin purse is tight, and he keeps a watchful eye on his surroundings. Thomas, ever the inquisitive one, strikes up a conversation with Gruffin.
So tell me your tale.
The older man's eyes light up with a mixture of pride and nostalgia.
Ah, me tale, eh? Well, it's a long one, it is. I've been a trader for most of me life, see. traveling from one end of the realm to the other, hawking goods, bartering, and making a pretty penny along the way. But as the years went by, I started hearing whispers of this lost mine, said to be filled with riches beyond imagination. Couldn't resist the lure, I couldn't. So, I started exploring, gathering what information I could.
He glances around at the towering trees, the sunlight filtering through the leaves.
Found myself here in Darkwood, and well, that's where you two fine folk come in. The legends say the key to finding the mine lies somewhere within this forest. Been searching for it for years, I have. But as you can see, it ain't no easy task.
Gruffin's gaze turns thoughtful, and he adds,
I've lost a few good friends along the way, adventurers who were brave enough to join me. That's why I'm grateful for your help, Ben and Thomas. We've got a real chance here, I can feel it.
With that, the three of you continue deeper into the forest, the path winding and the shadows growing darker. The forest seems to hold its secrets close, but your determination drives you forward. What would you like to do next?
Thomas pulls Ben aside and they speak in low voices to one another as they continue to walk behind Gruffin. Thomas says,
Do you perceive this man to have an angle on us?
Ben responds,
I see no ill will. I believe this man to simply be living out the last of his years seeking one final treasure.
Just keep your wits about you. These woods are rumored to be dangerous even with the most pleasant company.
Thomas retorts,
With a shared understanding, the two of you return to walking behind Gruffin, keeping a watchful eye on your surroundings. The forest seems to grow denser, the path more winding, and the shadows more foreboding. As you continue, a faint glimmer catches your eye through the trees. It's a soft, golden light, dancing among the leaves. Gruffin stops, his eyes widening in awe.
That's it, lads.
He exclaims.
The ancient stone marker? We've found it.
Through a small clearing, you see a weathered stone pillar covered in ivy, bathed in a gentle, otherworldly light. It seems to emanate an aura of magic. This is likely the key to finding the lost mine. What would you like to do next?
Thomas looks at Ben with a doubtful expression and says to Gruffin,
You've been searching for years and have not located the key, yet we've been looking for mere hours and have discovered it already.
He questions, his voice tinged with doubt. Gruffin, his eyes wide with amazement, turns to face Thomas and Ben.
Ben looks at Gruffin with skepticism and places his hand on the hilt of his dagger.
Aye, it seems luck favors us this day. Perhaps fate has brought us together for a reason.
Thomas remains skeptical, his gaze fixed on Gruffin. Ben, too, eyes Gruffin warily, his hand resting on the hilt of his dagger. He's not ready to fully trust this sudden turn of events. Gruffin, sensing the tension, holds up his hands in a placating gesture.
I understand your doubts, lads. But sometimes, it takes fresh eyes and a bit of luck to find what's been hidden for so long. Now, let's not waste any more time. We've got a mine to find.
With a newfound determination, Gruffin leads the way towards the ancient stone marker. As you approach, you can feel a subtle hum of magic in the air. It's clear that this marker holds significant power. What would you like to do next? Ben turns to Thomas, his eyes filled with curiosity.
Do you know of any magic that could disrupt this stone?
He asks, his voice low. Thomas ponders for a moment, then reaches into his satchel and begins to rummage. After a few moments, he produces a small pouch containing a gray powder resembling ash. Without hesitation, he tosses it onto the stone marker. The moment the powder touches the surface of the stone, it emits a faint, silvery glow. The glow intensifies, spreading from the point of contact and illuminating the entire marker. The air seems to thrum with energy, and a soft, melodic hum fills the clearing. Gruffin looks on in astonishment, his eyes wide.
Well, I'll be. It seems your magic has quite the effect, Thomas.
As the glow subsides, the stone marker appears to have transformed. Intricate symbols and runes now adorn its surface, glowing softly. It's evident that Thomas's powder has activated some latent enchantment within the marker. With a newfound sense of purpose, Gruffin steps forward.
This is it, then. The key to finding the lost mine. Let's follow where it leads, and may the gods be with us.
The path ahead is now illuminated by the ethereal glow of the stone. It seems to guide you deeper into the heart of the forest. What would you like to do next?
A new player is introduced. There is a rustle in the woods nearby. The party looks over to see a small effeminate male elf named Wyatt. He is adorned with very tight green leggings that resemble those of Peter Pan, along with a flower woven into his hair. He is shirtless, disheveled, and dirty. Ben reacts to this intruder with aggression, worried the elf was after the key to the mine. Ben accosts Wyatt, coming at him aggressively.
As the party stands before the transformed stone marker, a sudden rustle in the woods nearby draws your attention. From the underbrush emerges a small, effeminate male elf named Wyatt. His attire, consisting of tight green leggings and a flower in his hair, is a stark contrast to the ruggedness of the forest. He appears shirtless, disheveled, and covered in dirt. Before anyone has a chance to react, Ben's instincts kick in, and he approaches Wyatt with aggression, his hand on the hilt of his dagger.
Who are you? What business do you have here?
He demands, his voice sharp and guarded. Meanwhile, Thomas, ever quick thinking, raises his hands in a casting gesture, summoning a protective ward. A shimmering bubble envelops Wyatt, effectively containing him within a translucent barrier. Wyatt, taken aback by the sudden aggression and magic, raises his hands in a gesture of surrender.
Please, I mean no harm.
He pleads, his voice gentle and trembling.
I was merely drawn to the energy here, I promise.
Gruffin, standing back but watching the situation closely, raises an eyebrow at the unexpected turn of events. The scene is tense, with Wyatt encased in the protective bubble and Ben's aggression hanging in the air. What would you like to do next?
Ben draws his dagger, still unsure of the interloper. Maybe his lust for the riches or his hatred for elves. Rage burns behind his eyes. Wyatt, looking at Ben, pulls out 2 gold pieces and rubs them together between his fingers, exclaiming, "If you let me join your party, I'll give you this gold," with a shit-eating grin on his face. Thomas stands in observance of the situation.
Ben's grip on his dagger tightens, his distrust of Wyatt still evident. The elf's presence seems to have ignited a deep-seated anger within him. Wyatt, sensing the tension, reaches into his own pouch and pulls out 2 gleaming gold pieces. He rubs them together between his fingers, the metallic sound cutting through the still air.
If you let me join your party, I'll give you this gold,
Wyatt declares, a mischievous grin playing on his lips. His offer hangs in the air, the implications clear. Thomas watches the exchange with a thoughtful expression, taking in the dynamics between Ben and Wyatt. He remains silent, allowing the situation to unfold. Gruffin, still observing from a distance, scratches his beard in contemplation. He seems intrigued by Wyatt's sudden appearance and his offer of gold. The forest around you seems to hold its breath, awaiting your decision. What will be your response to Wyatt's proposal? Ben's voice rings out with a bold proposition.
You may join us if I get these 2 gold pieces and 75% of your share of the gold in the mine.
Wyatt, still encased in the protective bubble, responds calmly, his elvish math skills evident even in this tense situation.
Would that be fair to everyone else? You would end up with more than the others.
He points out, his tone measured. Gruffin, watching the exchange with keen interest, remains silent, allowing the party to work out their terms. The forest around you seems to hold its breath, waiting for a resolution. What will be the final agreement between Ben and Wyatt?
Wyatt, seeing no other option, begins to pout and states, "I guess I must meet the demands, if the terms meet all of your party's wishes." Thomas rummages in his magic satchel and produces a spellbook from which he reads an incantation that summons a small homunculus creature with a heavy steel chain around its neck attached to a wooded board with the name Levi written on it. The creature writhes in pain after being summoned for an uncomfortable amount of time.
With a resigned expression, Wyatt concedes.
I guess I must meet the demands, if the terms meet all of your party's wishes.
Ben nods in agreement, satisfied with the arrangement.
That is right with me,
he confirms. Meanwhile, Thomas retrieves a spellbook from his satchel and begins to read an incantation aloud. A surge of magic fills the air, and from it emerges a small, writhing homunculus creature. It wears a heavy steel chain around its neck, attached to a wooden board with the name Levi written on it. The creature seems to writhe in discomfort, its form contorting uncomfortably. Gruffin watches the scene with a mix of fascination and concern.
Well, that's some powerful magic you've got there, lad.
He remarks to Thomas.
That's quite the companion you have there,
he observes. With the terms agreed upon and a new member added to the party, the forest around you seems to settle, and the air becomes still. The path forward, guided by the glow of the stone marker, continues deeper into the dark wood forest. What would you like to do next?
Wyatt's eyes widen in shock as he realizes that the creature just summoned by Thomas was his long-lost brother, captured long ago by a young halfling wizard named Thomas. He regards the figure once his brother, second in line to the throne, now a disturbing creature. Marred by the missed words in the incantation on the aged paper, Ben gives a disgusted look to the creature and begins to recount all of his coins with the addition of Wyatt's 2 gold pieces. Thomas takes a long draw from his pipe and thinks back to his old days of his youth as a soul-snatching wizard.
The revelation hits Wyatt like a bolt of lightning. His eyes widen in shock and horror as he realizes that the homunculus before him is none other than his long-lost brother, once second in line to the throne. Now, marred by the failed incantation, he's become a disturbing creature. It's clear that the missed words on the aged paper have wrought a terrible transformation.
Brother!
Wyatt screams, his voice filled with anguish and disbelief. He regards the figure with a mixture of heartbreak and horror. Ben, unaffected by the emotional turmoil, gives a disgusted look to the creature, his focus on his coins. He meticulously recounts them, now including Wyatt's 2 gold pieces. Meanwhile, Thomas takes a long draw from his pipe, his mind drifting back to the days of his youth as a soul-snatching wizard. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily on him. The forest around you seems to hold its breath, as if aware of the somber turn of events. What will be your next course of action?
What is the current time of day?
The current time of day is late afternoon, with the sun beginning its descent towards the horizon. The forest is bathed in a warm, golden light, casting long shadows among the trees.
Ben squints at the long shadows stretching toward the east and suggests the group set up camp for the night. Wyatt looks at the sky and gives the group a nod and a grunt in reply.
As the late afternoon shadows grow longer, Ben squints at the horizon and suggests setting up camp for the night. Wyatt, taking note of the darkening sky, nods in agreement with a low grunt in reply. Thomas, ever efficient, flicks his wrist in a swift motion. Suddenly, the area around you bursts into motion, and in moments, a campsite is set up. 4 tents encircle a crackling campfire, creating a cozy and well-organized resting place. Thomas settles down by the campfire, glancing over at Gruffin to gauge his reaction. However, Ben eyes the display with a disapproving gaze.
I don't want your mana on my clothing.
He grumbles, clearly not a fan of such ostentatious displays of magic. He turns away, muttering to himself about
wizards these days.
Meanwhile, Wyatt, seemingly comfortable with the heights of the trees, nimbly ascends to the treetops to secure his own resting place for the night. With the campsite prepared and the night settling in, the forest takes on a serene, almost mystical ambiance. The warm glow of the campfire dances against the trees, creating flickering patterns of light and shadow. Is there anything specific you would like to do or discuss before settling in for the night?
Ben digs a dwarf-sized hole and settles down inside for the night.
The night settles in, and the forest is enveloped in a peaceful stillness. Ben, true to his dwarf nature, digs a dwarf-sized hole and settles down within it, finding it to be a snug and secure resting spot. As he's on the edge of sleep, an acorn suddenly drops from the tree above, landing near Ben. He looks up, and there's Wyatt, giving him a ginger smile and a wave. Ben gazes at him disapprovingly, but Wyatt, undeterred, quickly disappears back into the cover of the tree. For a moment, Ben considers the idea of chopping down the tree in retaliation, but fatigue soon takes over. The rest of the group, including Thomas in his tent, Gruffin by the campfire, and Wyatt perched in the treetops, settles in for the night. The glow of the campfire provides a comforting warmth and light throughout the night. The forest remains tranquil, with only the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze.